before this episode begins, we are currently pushing towards 800 subscribers on our YouTube channel, and currently only 33% of you are actually subscribed. So if you want to be the first to hear about everything we're doing, you want to see what's going on with us, then please do press that big red button. It costs you absolutely nothing. Right, let's get into the episode.
Hello, back from the dead after missing Sunday. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Doing this a bit later than planned. It's currently Thursday afternoon. The time is 3:15. I sound like something from, I'm on the radio or something
Nice
like
and
that.
specific.
We could have done it yesterday. One, I couldn't be bothered. And two, I totally forgot it was Wednesday. So, you're getting this. Of course, it is international break. But there's a whole host of League Two fixtures still to come this weekend, with just the one game being called off, and that is Salford up against Doncaster. Those two will not be playing. I think I saw that they'd organised a date already. I can't remember, but I think it's some point in April. You can go and check that out. In this one, I think we'll probably just look through the games. This will probably be a shorter episode because, to be quite honest, there's not really a lot of news to talk about. I mean, other than the fact that Doncaster were fined for a couple of pitch invasions when they beat Barrow last season, but I mean, who's really bothered, to be quite honest. We've got Luke for this one. How are you? How's things? How are you keeping?
Yeah, I mean, not too bad. Kind of patiently waiting for us to eventually have a manager again, but that's a whole other scenario. But well, I'm just happy to be here. If we had recorded yesterday, I wouldn't have been on. So I don't know. Take that as you will. For some people, that's probably a positive. For some, I don't know. They'll be ready in the comments. I'm sure.
It certainly would have been a positive for me. Yeah, that Luke Payne's on again. No, we don't want to see him. And he's talking about his club that's got absolutely nothing to play for this season. Although talking beforehand, if you was on about going up to Carlisle, if we lose that, I don't know. Yeah, we can still get relegated. Behave. No, you're not. I think you be lucky that Tranmere, not Tranmere. Sorry, Jack. Because they've got a few results together, including picking up the most League Two result I've ever seen last week, in which I was gutted I wasn't there to talk about. You be lucky you've got Carlisle and Morecambe there, who are both equally as awful. That both look like going to drop, especially Carlisle. Oh my God, they're bad, aren't they? I mean, look, count yourself lucky. You don't have a manager, but was it 12 points clear? Calm down a little bit.
We should be fine. I'd say about 90% of me is like confident. Okay, yeah, we're fine. We can just look to next season now. But there's still always that little inkling that I'm like, well, if one of those teams puts a run together and we don't pick up form, it's still a possibility. 42 isn't that many points, or like any other season that would put you in trouble. So there is always that little bit of doubt.
Probably, but a couple of results, I think.
Well, yeah, as long as we win a game before the end of the season, we're okay.
I'd like to think you will. I'd like.
That'd be nice.
They've been few and far between. And I'd like to think that Grimsby will return to winning ways this week, especially with the nature of our opponent. After losing to Jake in the FTF table last week, we've probably got, we've got Kieran's team on Saturday, and it's a big game for both the FTF table as well for our season, because after that, just Colchester and Crewe to come up. Two teams in which we've sort of got at the minute this little mini league, what it feels like. I'd like to get one over Kieran, and I think I think I remember saying, if it's a case, whoever wins that, safe from the bottom. Yeah, I'll have a quick look. I'll probably put it up again a bit later. Jake won last week. He's played all his games now, 14 points. He's pretty much there. I think, unless we still could. If it depends if we could beat our last two, which is Newport and MK. I mean, Kieran's got the advantage, having played a game less. If they go on a bit of a mad one, he could still win it. And Luke's very much at risk of finishing bottom at the minute. I mean, like I said, if neither one of us or Kieran wins on Tuesday, I think if my maths is correct, I think we're safe from the bottom. So we can't finish bottom. So a little bit of a shootout between neither one of us or Kieran if they win, and Jack in there. How you feeling about potentially finishing bottom?
I mean, about it. I mean, like I said, like I've said it before. Like going into this season, I would have been fuming with anything other than first out of these teams, respectfully. So to be right at the bottom of it, it's an eye opener. That's for sure. I'm kind of just hoping our last two from this are Grimsby and Newport. So I'm just hoping we can get at least one of those wins, and then hope that Tranmere lose to Newport, and then Jack can have that bottom spot. I don't particularly want it, to be honest.
Is Newport your final day game?
No, our final FGF
We go
game
to the last, don't we?
is you guys' second game of the second
Right.
last season, and then we play Swindon away on the final day.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I think it's Newport Tranmere, isn't it? The final day.
Yes, yeah, Newport
Because
Tranmere
there's one of
final
them that
day.
gets played on
Yeah.
the final day, so that could be interesting. We'll talk about that a little bit more. I mean, I've been keeping all right, I guess. You can see I'm just trying to delay about talking football. I should probably talk about it now, I guess. Let's have a look at this weekend's fixtures. I mean, like I said, there's nothing to really go through in terms of news. Like there was no games in midweek or anything like that. So let's have a look at Saturday's games. As I mentioned, 11 games to be played. Let's have a look at the early kickoff to start with. I think this is pretty big for both. The early kickoff of the day. Notts County host Crewe. Notts have had a little bit of a wobble these past few weeks. They've been a little bit inconsistent. Just the 2 wins in 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just the 2 wins in the last 8. One of them was against us, which, yeah. But I think they've had a lot of injuries, and they're coming up to a crucial period in which I noticed that Alex Bass is going to be missing for a little bit after he went off at Grimsby. I think I remember them recalling Junior Morais, their striker, who was on loan at a National League side in which I can't remember. I want to say Aldershot. I just remember. I swear it was. I thought he was at Dagenham still because it feels like he's always been there. But yeah, I could be wrong there. But I've noticed that they've recalled him. Crewe, on the other hand, look, 1-1 draw against Doncaster last time out. Back-to-back draws. They drew with Salford last time. The game before that, lost to Fleetwood and that. So 3 games without a win, but they did win their last 2 after that, beating Chesterfield and Barrow. But yeah, wins for them have been few and far between at the minute as well. I think injuries has taken its toll. We'll probably get onto that with Grimsby because my God, I mean, look, this is, as a Grimsby fan, this is a game I'm going to be watching closely. With obviously with Crewe, we're a point behind them. And obviously Notts County, it's big for them in terms of their automatic promotion hopes. I mean, they certainly need to get a few more wins quite quickly, especially after losing to Chesterfield last time out. We'll get onto Chesterfield in a little bit, but look, 3 wins in a row. I think they're certainly starting to pick up a little bit of form. When I mentioned, I thought they were down and out a couple of weeks ago. Maybe there's still some life left in the Spireites, but this is a very interesting game, and it'll be one in which when I'm at the pub at 12:30, I've had a night shift before, so I'll probably be on like 3 hours sleep. This is a game I'll be taking a close eye on with real attention because this is both. This is big for both, to be quite honest.
Oh yeah, no, it is, and I don't know. I feel like Notts are quite vulnerable at the minute. With the injuries they've had, especially with the goalkeeper Bass. Our promotion, what was very close to being a promotion season for us last season, that felt like that was sort of torpedoed by the goalkeeper situation we had. It is really crucial to have your top keeper in goal at this stage, and yeah, the last couple of home games Notts have had, they've lost. One was Chesterfield, who are in form. The other was Barrow, a little less convincing. Meanwhile, I feel like Crewe are getting 1 or 2 players back. I might be wrong on that, but I don't know. I feel like Crewe just have a little bit of an edge. Not just a tough place to go, but at the minute, I would be leaning towards Crewe to win this one.
Possibly. I mean, look, I'm like I said, I'm perfectly neutral in this. I'm hoping for a result for the Magpies, preferably 3 points, because we've got more. Well, we've obviously got more chance of catching up Crewe than we do Notts County. I think. I was quite impressed with a few aspects of Notts County, although it did take them a little bit of time to get into that. I think I think when we played them, I think we just grew tired in the end. I think I mentioned that Stuart Maynard said that they're looking at the free agent market for a goalkeeper as well. I mean, these crucial games coming up, in the business end of the season now. I mean, Sam Slocum's been there a hell of a long time. He feels like he's part of the furniture at Notts a little bit, but I'm not sure if he's the type of keeper you probably want heading into these last few games. Yeah, sure, he does a job, but I don't think he's anything spectacular, to be quite honest, and I don't think he ever really has been. That's just a thought of mine. I mean, I'm just looking at Notts County's squad real quick from the defeat to Chesterfield. I mean, you still got likes of Jatters in there. McGoldrick started, after his recent return from injury. No sign yet of Jody Jones. He's still out for. I think for a little bit. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure when he's back. I just wanted to check Crewe real quick before we had a look at the other games. I just wanted to check, what sort of players they have back. I mean, O'Riordan has got a couple of goals in his last few. I mean, yeah, they're still looking quite like themselves. I think Mickey Dimitri. I think I saw that Mickey Dimitri is not far off. Could be wrong. Obviously, like the Shiloh Trace is long term. James Connolly, I think, is out. I'm not sure how far he is. I mean, they've certainly got some players back, and it certainly looks like, they're starting to get back into this the swing of things. But yeah, I mean, they're still a strong side. Don't get me wrong. Right, I've mentioned a result. Like I said, I love for Notts to get a result. I'd love for them to beat them, to be quite honest. In that sense, I've got the feeling that there's a part of me that I think will edge towards. I don't know. I don't really want to sit on the fence. I don't want to sit on the fence for these type of games. I've had enough of doing that. Let's say I'm gonna have to sit on the fence. I think I'm gonna say a draw. I think it'll be a tight game. But I think Crewe don't give a lot away, and I'm not sure with Notts County at the minute. Something's missing. Something is missing there for me, and I think there's a couple of reasons. I think there's a couple of instances where or what they're missing. But I just think they are at the minute. I'm not sure if that's something you agree with.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, something that's not quite, in place. I don't know. It is a tricky one. I can see why you're struggling with it. Like it's one of those. I think I've just convinced myself, right? Oh, Crewe have a couple of strikers back. They're probably going to do a bit better. But yeah, honestly, it is a tough one to call. And on Notts' day, they've got players that can just show up and run the show, like a Jatta or a McGoldrick. So you can never sort of rule out that individual quality, being the decider in these games. And it's a tricky one. I'm going to stick with Crewe, but it could go either way, to be fair.
Perfect, right? Up the black and whites. That's all I'm going to say. On that one, in this fight for promotion and the playoffs, let's have a look at the league leaders, shall we? Walsall, I think their recent struggles have continued. They picked up a point last Thursday night, I think it was, against Bromley after going behind twice. It's good to see Harry McCurdy on the score sheet again. We're so bad. Harry McCurdy scoring in League Two is stuff you want to see, unless you're from the opposition. Proper wallop there. But yeah, I think I think there's an aspect of Walsall. I think they have been quite lucky these past couple of games in which Bradford have failed to capitalise on them dropping points. Last Saturday was another big one for them, and then Bradford blowing it in what was the most League Two result ever, in the most League Two the most League Two thing ever. Gillingham, I think their season's more near enough done. It feels like a little bit of a free hit, but at the same time, I think they'll probably look at it and think, right, actually, this Walsall side, they could be up for taking something off them. I think I've read something. I think I saw. I can't remember who said it, but I did have a look myself, and you see that some of the Walsall players, and you see that a lot of them have played a hell of a lot of football. I'm not sure. I'm thinking at that maybe, I don't know, there's some tired lace in there. I mean, a lot of them have played nearly all their games, if not they've missed a couple at the very least. So maybe there's that aspect. I don't think a point at Bromley is probably never a bad result, but where they were at the top of the table, where they're sort of form is at the minute, there's probably question marks that probably say that they could have done better. I think there's probably that argument to it. But I mean, look, there's no secret that they need to get a few wins to still stay top of the table. I don't think, Bradford not capitalising, or, a couple of teams around them not capitalising will last forever. I'm not sure if that says more on Bradford or them. I think maybe a bit of both with how far Walsall were and the fact that, Bradford have had these couple of these poor results. But I don't think there'll be much in. I don't think there'll be much in this game. This is surely the chance where Walsall break their duck. This is a game, they've got to be looking at this game. Gillingham, they've had an awful season. They've picked up a few results recently, and by results, they've had a fair few draws. I mean, couple of wins. I mean, beating Bradford the other week was big, and beating Morecambe was probably the least they probably needed. Drawing quite late with Accrington last week. Well, worked free kick, I should probably say. But this is absolutely a game in which, if you're a Walsall fan, you've got to be thinking, right, okay, this is the tie's got to turn sooner rather than later. Otherwise, I don't even think them dropping out of the playoffs is out of the question yet. I think we've got to a point now in which they have to start winning a few more games just to make it that little bit safer. Even if they don't win the league, make sure they finish the top three. Because if they don't finish in the top three, with how far, for how far they were, and how good that they were, from start to the last, since like January on, around January and all that, they've been quite faultless. And it'd be an absolute travesty if they don't do it. But this has surely got to be the time that they break that duck, right?
I mean, you'd hope so, but at the same time, that first result is the hardest to get when you're on a bad run. Walsall have drawn their last 3 away games. Gillingham have won their last 2 at home, although one of those was Morecambe. No disrespect intended there, but they're a stronger opposition you can come up against, like a Walsall, who you'd expect to put up a lot more of a fight. But then, as you say, I don't know if there's a bit of fatigue coming in on the Walsall end of things. I think Gillingham are tougher to play against now. They're not going to make it easy. I think it's going to be one of those games where it's very edgy. It might be, a typical 1-0, whoever gets the goal, that's sort of it kind of thing. I don't know. It's a tricky one. At the minute, I think just because the very recent stats back it up, I'm actually going to back Gillingham again. I wouldn't be surprised if Walsall won it, but like I said, I think the mental game is at play a little bit there as well. So I'm going to go with Gillingham.
I can certainly see where you're coming from there, especially at Priestfield. I certainly make it tough. It's a game in which I don't expect there to be a lot of drama. I don't expect there to be a lot of proper action or anything like that. I think it'll be a very tight game, but I'm itching towards a Walsall victory. I believe in no Saddlers. It's got to happen. Otherwise, if they keep on losing games or certainly not winning it, there could be certainly some problems heading into the last month or so of the season. Let's have a look at Bradford, because they've got a huge game against Colchester. Obviously, we know that Colchester, I think it's been pretty well documented at the minute with how well they've been doing under the Cowleys. Bradford have had a couple of poor results, especially, like I've mentioned, losing to Tranmere to evaporate their excellent home form, in which we've seen in recent weeks. So there's 2 poor results there, but I think I think they put an offer on for this game, Bradford, and it certainly looks like it's going to be a very big attendance at Vale Parade. But I think for a Colchester sense, I think they're tough not to crack, aren't they? And they're going really well. They've got all the confidence and they've got all the ability at the minute. I honestly think that if Colchester walk away with a draw, it's not the worst result in the world. I mean, it keeps their unbeaten run going, and I mean, against an informed side. Well, I say an informed side. That's what Bradford are doing against an informed side. But you've also got the advantage that we know that Bradford can be good at home, and probably look to say, right, okay, last week was maybe a 1-off or maybe a 2-off as well, if we're talking about that defeat at Gillingham the other week. Again, I don't see there being much in this. I'm itching towards a draw in this. I really can't call it. I think there's aspects to both. I think might take it, might not. Obviously Bradford will favour themselves as the home side. Obviously Colchester's unbeaten run can't go on forever. So there's maybe a case this weekend that something's got to give. I think for both, but I honestly can't call it. I think it'll be a very tight affair. If I want to call it, I really want it to be a Bradford win, but I just think it'll be a draw. That's just my gut feeling anyway.
Well, yeah, you're right. It's a really really tricky one to call. As you say, Colchester have been on an amazing run, but when they have dropped points on this unbeaten run, it's typically been away. I think it was only once at home where they had a draw. The rest of the draws have all been the away games. So they're not quite as strong away. They're obviously still very very tough to beat. Uh, Whereas from a Bradford perspective, obviously they've lost the last couple, both for 1-0s. I think it's a case of they generated a lot of chances still. They just didn't necessarily have the quality on the day to put those chances away, which you could probably put down to some of the players missing, but they do still have a lot of quality in that squad. I don't know. It is tricky. I think it would just be very, very typically League Two for Bradford to go and win this game after losing the last couple of ones that they have. So
Maybe
I'm
they've
going to
just
lean
building
towards
up.
Bradford.
Maybe they've just been building up for this one, right? Okay, we get Gillingham and Tranmere out of the way. We'll lose to them. Make everyone think, right? Actually, hold on, this could be something. Then they'll just go and watch it. They'll beat them like 4-0 or something. It probably won't be that extreme, but you get what I mean. Something
I get what
something
you're
a bit
coming
like that
from.
shocks everyone.
I think it'll be a narrow game still. I still think it'll be a very tight scoreline, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was the game where Bradford suddenly showed up, as it were, and actually took the 3 points and ended Colchester's run, which would be yet another weird twist in the tale that is League Two this season.
Yeah, of course, Colchester 5 straight wins. I think I just counted there were 13 unbeaten. But you also remember it was Bradford that ended Walsall's run, and that was at Valley Parade. So there's that aspect as well that could lightning strike twice against a massively informed side. It could happen. And with the crowd behind them at Valley Parade, there is a chance, but I think it'll be a tight game. I really can't call it. It's another one of those ones where, yeah, probably won't be a lot in it, but game's a game in it. Right. So there's that one. Let's have a look at the sides in and around the playoffs. Let's have a look at AFC Wimbledon. They host Barrow this weekend. I mean, look, AFC Wimbledon. Victory at Carlisle last time. I mean, look, wins for Wimbledon have been quite. They've not had many wins as of late. Just the 2 wins in the last 7. They've drawn twice and have lost 3. A couple of home defeats in that time as well, which has been quite unlike them. But they managed to get the 3 points last week against, rock bottom Carlisle. It looked like more than one final nail in the coffin for them, but we'll probably get them into them a little bit more. Up against a Barrow side in which, look, 3 unbeaten, 2 wins and a draw. Came back from 2-0 down to take a point off of Morecambe last week. They did beat Accrington, and they did have a very good victory at Notts County recently as well. But I think if you're from a Wimbledon perspective, I think this is one of those games in which you've got to be winning, to be quite honest. Barrow, they're not great. Their season's done. They'll be around the mid-table mark, especially when you see the games coming up. They've got Walsall after that. Have Wimbledon. That could be a huge game. It probably is a huge game anyway, but especially at the minute, I think this is a game I think they've got to be eyeing up to win and probably should win. And then the fact that they're at home, they've had a couple of defeats at home recently, as I said, is a good opportunity there to get back on track. I think Barrow will make it tough for them, but I fully expect this to be a game in which AFC Wimbledon have got to get the better hand of.
Oh yeah, the expectation for sure is that AFC really should win this. I think the only thing that's sort of preventing me a little bit from predicting a win is just the losses against Bromley and Morecambe, the physical sides.
Yeah, there
And
have been
both
4
of those
losses
are
as well,
recent.
haven't they? Yeah.
And Barrow are a physical side. They're not a great physical side, but they do have a little bit of resilience about them if you catch them on the right day. They are very inconsistent, Barrow. I don't think Barrow have enough to win that game. I'd be shocked if they won that game, but I don't think a draw is out the realm of possibilities. I mean, obviously, given who I support, I imagine it's probably considered controversial opinion to say so, but I
Oh
could
yeah,
see it
AFC
being a
Wimbledon are
draw.
gonna win 6-0.
Not a chance.
Probably MK.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did win, but I'm gonna go for a draw on this one.
They're dropping points again. I see. No, I'm looking at the sides in which you probably claim that are more. I think there are more physical sides than Barrow. I think Barrow have a little bit. They have a little bit of skill. They have a little bit of technical quality. I mean, not saying that the likes of Colchester and Bromley don't. They certainly do. I mean, certainly the likes of Jack Payne for Colchester. You see some of the players that they've got at Bromley over there, likes of Danny and Ray. Is it Ben Thompson? I think it's got a little bit of something about him. He's got a really good goal against Walsall, and I should probably mention. And maybe even Morecambe to an extent. They're just trying to salvage for every point possible at the minute. I think there's probably more. I actually think there's probably been more challenging games than them. Actually, with the greatest respect to Barrow, but I'd like to think, they've got that win against Carlisle. We probably thought it would have been the case after Notts, right? Okay, they've had a few not great results. Probably this is the time. Obviously, then going and losing to Cheltenham, which weren't great. I just feel like with Wimbledon, like if you get a foothold in the game, probably if you score first. I know Wimbledon has scored quite a few; they don't concede many. But I just get the feeling if one team gets the upper hand and scores first, they'll probably take something from the game. That's the impression that I feel like I've got with them. But I mean, not denying that their quality and some of the players that they've got, they've certainly got a lot of firepower. I think they're one of the top goal scorers in the league. No, they've scored. 49. I mean, quite a lot of teams have scored more than them actually. But they've certainly got quality in the blood. I just think that'd be too strong for Barrow, to be quite honest. There. Who else is around Port Vale? They've got Morecambe. Potentially, I feel like every team that plays Morecambe notice this season, I think it's probably more of a case of potential banana skin. And maybe it could be. I mean, look, Port Vale were 3-0 winners against MK Dons last week. And it looked like they thoroughly deserved it. Oh my God, I've just seen the stats. 20 shots, 8 on target to MK's 5. And look, you had a shot on target. Let's I know you've not, you've had a few games quite recently where you haven't had one. You barely had any shots in those games, actually. And you still did there. But yeah, I mean, look, 31% possession for Port Vale and they beat you 3-0 quite comfortably looking at that, which probably says a lot more about you. As to how rubbish you are.
Yeah, honestly, we were a long way off it. We were a long way off it that game.
Yeah, it certainly was a cracking win for them. Probably needed after 4 games without a win, including 3 draws in there. Morecambe, I think them blowing a 2-0 lead at home to Barrow last week to draw 2-2, finish the game with 10 men, and the fact that Tranmere won last week has put them ever closer to them facing the National League, that dreaded trap door. 6 points adrift from Tranmere, with 9 games to go. I just don't think they have the quality. I think Tranmere have picked up a few results at the right time, and especially in Carlisle's case, I mean they've got a game in hand, but they're 9 points adrift. I think you're probably looking for there, but it could be one in which Port Vale could slip up if they're not wary. I fully expect them to beat them. No, it's the least that I think they should do and beat them quite comfortably with some of the quality they have. But what Derek had, what Morecambe side could be. They could be trying to stay in the game for as long as possible. Is probably the impression I get. Whether that'll work or not, I don't know. I mean, but the games they have lost, especially recently, there's not been a great deal in it. But I think you could probably see that their lack of quality has probably shown. And I just it's another game. I think Port Vale will just be too strong with them with their quality.
I mean, it would make sense. Morecambe in 2025 haven't got a point on the road yet.
There we
go. So that kind of tells you everything. Whereas Port Vale on the flip side are very, very tough to beat. Obviously, they had a loss the other week, but I'm not looking into that too much. And obviously, they got straight back to winning ways against us in good fashion. To be fair, they're a strong side. I can't see this as anything other than just a routine Port Vale win and back onto their run they go sort of thing.
Yeah, I fully agree. If Morecambe gets something from that on, yeah, all right. Again, League 2 for you. What a fun league. Right, okay, let's have a look at our game. Let's have a look at Grimsby Newport. Obviously, back-to-back defeats at home. For Town again, one against Notts County, which I thought we played quite well in that for quite a large bit. We just tired near the end, and their quality showed. And yeah, we lost the game 2-0 there. And then obviously the defeat to Salford last week, where we looked tired from the word go, to be quite honest. No shots on target. We struggled to get a foothold on it. Conceded the corner with 10 minutes left, which wasn't even a corner, by the way. Yeah, sort your refs out. The EFL again. That's a quite pleasant one for me. But there's another chance on that mud pitch we call Blundell Park to get a result, and it's probably a big one, like I said, because we've got Colchester and Crewe away, both games right after that. So we could really do with getting a result against Newport. Now Newport, weird side, aren't they? When they're on it, they're a threat. They're a real threat. They can play football the right way. They've got some fast attackers. They've got some real quality, and they can score goals. When they're not on it, it's a case that they're absolutely miserable. And I'm kind of hoping that'll be another one, of those weekends today. I feel we are heavily depleted. There was a picture of David Artell on the training ground in the week, getting in with the lads, be whacking on his boots at the minute with the amount of players we've got out. We've not even got Geza Davitori this week, as he's away on international duty with the Faroe Islands. So that's another less player that we've got available for us. That bench is going to be absolutely awful, isn't it? So we're pretty much down to the bare bones again. And I think it was probably even worse than what we were in the summer. I mean, it was 0-0 last time, us played them. Jordan Wright saving a penalty. I've noticed the 61 goals that Newport have conceded, although they have scored 48. Saying that, we've not conceded that much less. We've conceded 54, but notice the fact we have scored 51. And also last week as well, it was, there's 2 games in which we've not scored in. We've scored in quite a lot of our games this season. And I just put it down to the fact I think, we've had a lot of injuries and there's certainly some tired legs. This has got to be the opportunity in which we need to get on this horse. We need to get back on this horse and then go for it if we want to make the playoffs. I mean, look, being in this position, I've always said, I love it. I love the fact that we're in this position. It's a nice problem to have. And with some huge games coming up, but I can't help but think this is a game I think we have to win. And I think we will. I think this week's rest might have done the lads that we've got fit the world of good, actually. It could be a good game, probably not on the state of our pitch. But I back us to get the job done. I mean, I'm not going to say we're going to lose. I'm just not. And I'd be nice to get 3 points over Kieran in that sense.
Oh yeah, I mean, I do think you're going to win this game. I mean, I know you're without a win at home in 3 games now, was that? But still, you had 2 losses and then there was a draw as well.
Yeah, Tranmere.
Yeah. So it is pretty bad win at home.
If you look at it that way, just the 1 win in the last 5. But I think there's been more good than bad, actually, certainly in the performances. But yeah, we could certainly do with a win at home.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think this will be the one you do win at home. I mean, Newport had a very, very good win away in early February at Crewe, but beyond that, you look at the recent ones. There's a 3-0 loss to Doncaster, 2-1 to Chesterfield, and then the 5-0 to Accrington, which is obviously the very recent one. They haven't really looked at the races in their last few away games, and I don't think they've got enough about them, to be honest. They can pull off results against sides that don't necessarily show up on the day. Harrogate were a good example of that, but they can't do it consistently, and I think this will be one of those days where Newport just claps on the road.
Absolutely, but I get the impression that they can concede goals, which is good for us. Right, let's have a look at Carlisle. They're up against Bromley. How many times do we have to keep saying that it really should be a game which Carlisle should be trying to get 3 points off? It'd probably be a difficult game against Bromley. I think the damage was done last week, to be honest. Obviously, with them losing to Wimbledon, it could have been a lot worse if Morecambe picked up 3 points against Barrow. I don't think it'd have been as bad as that, but it's the fact that Tranmere have gone to Bradford and picked up 3 points, and I get the sense of feeling around Brunton Park that relegation just feels inevitable. They're up against a very good side, who could probably I'd be wrong to say they could probably do with a win. They'd lost to Tranmere, which weren't great, but they picked up a decent result against Walsall. Probably a bit disappointing for the fact that they've taken the lead twice in there, that they've not got 3 points. I don't know how much I can keep back in Carlisle. I feel like I've backed Carlisle for the past few weeks. Right, okay, this is it. I'm running out here. I'm not sure. I think there's players in there that are not good enough, and I don't think are playing for the cause. I've noticed a fair bit of stuff. Is it Jordan Jones, especially Elliot Embleton? They got quite a bit of a stick last week from the Carlisle faithful. They've got to go with like a mega run. They have to go like a mega run, and they have to go and pick up wins in which you probably don't expect them to pick up wins. Will it be this weekend? I think you're probably taking solace that Bromley have lost to Tranmere in the past couple of weeks, maybe for that. But a Tranmere as bad as Carlisle at the minute? Certainly not. I don't know where it'll sway, but one thing I'm pretty confident. I really don't think Carlisle will win. That's one thing I'm pretty confident of, and I can't decide where it will sway. I mean, it's a long old trip. It's a long old trip, if I can say that right. For Bromley, but you certainly back them being certainly the favourites, and the fact that their playoff race is fading out a little bit, but there's still a small chance for them. What do you think?
Well, yeah, this is a tricky one. I think Carlisle there haven't been many goals for either team in the Carlisle games at the minute, so it's going to be a close game. Bromley have conceded 2 in both of their last 2 games. Before that, their games were also very, very tight as well, low scoring. So it's a tricky one to call, and I am actually going to back Carlisle on this one, just because it's going to be such a narrow game, and Bromley in the last couple of games have shown defensive frailties. It's going to be a game of one moment, and I'm going to say Carlisle will get that moment.
Then Carlisle beat. I think Carlisle took points off Bromley last time, if I remember. It was a late result. I'm just trying to find out real quick. I know that we've been talking for a little bit, but I'm sure they took points of him very late. Yes, 1-1. A late goal for Carlisle there, but I know the second I back a team against Carlisle, they'll go and win. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to back Bromley to get the job done. To be honest, nothing crazy, nothing spectacular. I just think they've got enough there, and I doubt some of the credentials of this Carlisle side. I really do. Let's have a look at. I'll tell you what, Chesterfield. A couple of weeks ago, I was saying for the fact that their season's done. Not a great deal left to play for. Now you look at it, 3 straight wins later. And they've still got a chance of making the playoffs. I mean, they've got 7 points to make up, but the important thing for them is they have a game in hand over quite a lot of those teams. They're coming up against Harrogate. Obviously, they've lost it. They lost really poorly at Newport last week. And I noticed that Jack brought up the discussion about when do you sack Simon Weaver? When does your dad sack your lad? And I really don't agree with that at all. I think the only reason he goes is if he wants to, if he feels he can't take him any further. He'll go in his own accord. I stand by that, and I continue to stand by that, because let's be honest, Harrogate have overachieved for years. But Chesterfield are starting to build something. 3 excellent victories, an excellent win at Notts County last time out, a 4-0 hammering away at Salford, picking up the win against Newport. With that sort of form and against the team that they're coming up against, with them at home, I certainly back them. I think, if something's starting to click with them, I think, because 3 wins there, they're not like they weren't really playing anyone, not particularly great. I mean, maybe it's the case with Newport, but they're beating Salford and they're beating Notts County, were 2 decent teams at this level. So if they pick up another win here, who knows? This could be a very interesting end to the season for them. But I back them to pick up 3 points at home here.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that, to be honest. Harrogate away at the minute. They haven't been all that much better than Morecambe, to be fair, in that regard. They obviously had a very good draw against Port Vale recently. Before that, in 2025, the only other points they've got away was the 2-0 win to Barrow. That was way back on the 4th of January. So away, they have just not been at it at all, aside from this one game against Port Vale. I think Chesterfield are going to have too much for them. They've proven their worth now, and they're picking up form at the exact right time. I don't think Harrogate are going to be able to get in their way whatsoever. To be honest, this just screams routine Chesterfield win.
And I've said it for quite a lot this season. When Chesterfield are on it, they could be a very difficult team to play against with some of the quality they've got. Obviously, it's been a bit of a nightmare with them with injuries and a lot of inconsistency, certainly. But it means nothing if they go on a bit of a mad run now and manage to squeak into the playoffs. Yes, there's ground to make up, but there's certainly those 3 wins are certainly given then. And certainly the teams above them, certainly something to think about, that they're not quite out of it just yet. I think they could be a really interesting one to keep an eye on over these next few weeks, whether that they can build on it. But I do expect them to get 3 points here. Tranmere take the trip to Fleetwood. Tranmere season is not quite done. It's getting closer to being done. I think certainly with their last few results. I mean, Andy Crosby's has gone in there. 2 wins, 2 draws. In the 4 games he's had, Tranmere are picking up results. Where Morecambe and Carlisle aren't. We're up against Fleetwood. Let's be honest, their season's done. I don't think they've got a great deal to play for. I think I read something that Ryan Graydon, who's been pretty good these last few weeks, has picked up an injury that's going to see him out to the end of the season. I think for Fleetwood, now is a time in which you've got to be starting to plan for next year. I just don't think they quite have enough to make up the ground there. But Tranmere, until they're mathematically safe, they're not safe, and I think that'll be sort of their mindset. 2 wins in a row, 2 excellent wins as well against Bromley, and especially at Bradford last week. It was some result for them. There's no reason why they can't go to Fleetwood and pick up another result. Whether that's a win, whether that's a draw, I actually think they could go to Fleetwood and get something here. There's also the caveat in which Fleetwood do have some decent players on the day and they can hurt you, but I think Tranmere will get some sort of result in this one way or another, which will be great for them. But I think also if the likes of Morecambe and Carlisle, certainly in Morecambe's case, in which we probably expect them to drop points this weekend, could be very damning for them.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. I think the logical call would be to say Tranmere get something from the game. To be fair, I think they have improved. They're a tougher side to beat than they were earlier in the season. That's for sure. I think the only sort of wild card factor to it is we know what Fleetwood are like. They're consistently inconsistent. They'll have a horrible game one day, like they did with this Colchester game, their last game out. But the next day they'll show up and put in a ridiculous performance that no one was really expecting. They have that sort of something about them. You don't really know which Fleetwood's going to show up. My instinct would just say the fact they've just had an off day, maybe they'll show up with a bit more fight and maybe they'll just sneak in with a win and give Tranmere that little bit of adversity to have to try and start getting results again after that. It is a tricky one to call. I think logically, you'd say Tranmere get something from that game, or maybe say draw or something. But I am going to go with Fleetwood on this one.
Certainly, but I think I'm just going along the fact that I think Tranmere have the wind in their sails. I mean, who would have thought not changing a manager or changing a manager could do something? I can't remember. It was Mark Palios, or was it Nigel? It was one of the two. Jack can probably remind me of that. I think it was Mark Palios saying that changing a manager doesn't do anything. Clearly it does, because he's clearly getting more of that. Because Andy Crosby's clearly getting more of a tune out of these players in the last 4 games than what Nigel Atkins has done all season. So there you go. The proof's in the pudding there. 2 more games to go. MK Dons make the trip to Cheltenham. This is not a relegation game, Luke. I honestly don't think, as bad as you lot have been this season, you're blessed that you've got 2 teams at the bottom who I don't think can buy a win for love nor money at the minute. There's certainly nothing. There's certainly nothing riding on you lot. Cheltenham they're a decent team, but they're drifting away from the playoff conversations. Just the 1 win in their last 6, but they have been quite solid at home. So there's that aspect to it. Maybe, if Cheltenham pick up that win and other results go their way, they're certainly not out of the conversation. I think it's quite unlikely, if I'm going to be honest. So there may be one or two things to think about there if they maybe do get that victory. But MK have absolutely nothing to play for, and to be honest, I don't think they'll go there and pick up anything. I fully expect, especially with your form. Oh my god! All I see when I look down on here is red. Is literally is literally red. I mean, I'm seeing L, and then the the amber for the draw. That was the draw against Tranmere. Then L, for games against Accrington, Colchester and Bradford, and a rare green W there for victory against Morecambe, in which you were losing in that game. And of course, back down to earth last week with a 3-0 defeat with a big red L at Port Vale, and you seemed pretty miserable in that. I think it'll be another big L this weekend for MK Dons.
Well, yeah, I mean, the last 3 times that we've won a game, we've then gone and counteracted that by losing the next 3 afterwards. So, we've only lost 1 game after our last win, so that pretty much guarantees the loss. And we're also on our run of, conceding a penalty every other game. So, Cheltenham are due a penalty, apparently. So, that's the way of the world at the minute. I think the only thing that brings us back in, potentially, is the fact that they're without a win in 3 at home. But I don't think that's going to be enough to stop them. I know they've got their captain, Bradbury, missing through suspension. But equally, we have, I think, 1 wing back that's fit. The rest are either injured and apart from Tripp, who has been called up for the first time to the Welsh under-21, so we're not going to have him available either. So we'll probably have a midfielder playing wing back, which has never gone well this season. So I can't see it going well for us, to be honest. I think this is a routine Cheltenham win.
And I'm inclined to agree. There's one more game to have a look, and to be quite honest, I'm not going to dwell on this because this is pretty much a dead rubber as they come. That's what I feel the case with Swindon at home to Accrington Stanley. I think Accrington are pretty much there. I think 1 or 2 more victories. I think we probably need a few more victories to ensure they're there. But I think I don't think they'll go down. They're 10 points clear of Morecambe, and I can't see Morecambe making that gap up, and I can't see them massively, dropping off. They have been a little bit inconsistent, but the main thing for Accrington at the minute, they're picking up wins, at times. Yes, I think you look at it recently, they've won, lost, won, and then last week very nearly won it against Gillingham, with a sucker punch for a free kick in the 94th minute. Like I said, very well worked for them. Swindon, they're not going up, they're not going down. They're certainly entertaining a Swindon. 55 goals scored, 55 conceded. I guess Accrington can be when they want to be as well. They've scored 45 and have also conceded 55. This has the potential of a few goals in it. In a game in which, to be honest, doesn't really mean a great deal. If I had to pick a winner, probably lean towards Swindon with them being at home.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, to be fair. Swindon are unbeaten in 5. Accrington away, they're very sort of 50-50. They tend to lose, but very occasionally pull a result out the bag. I don't know. I think Swindon, quality-wise, although they've not necessarily been consistent with it, I do think they should, in theory, have too much for Accrington. I could see this being like a bit of a thriller, like a 4-2 win or something ridiculous, but I think Swindon just have that little bit more.
And Swindon have had, quite a lot of entertaining games recently. I mean, they drew 3-3 with Cheltenham last week. You look at their recent games, 2-2 at Doncaster, 2-2 with Salford. I mean, they've had a couple of decent wins, beating Walsall and Chesterfield both by 1-0. They've had a 3-3 against Port Vale recently. They beat Carlisle 5-1 quite those few weeks about, beat Tranmere 3-1. Their games can be fun. Yeah, their games can be fun. There's certainly a lot of goals in those games, and there certainly can be, in Accrington's case, putting the 5-0 against Newport aside, because I think I'm probably looking at that with the fact that they've put 5 against Newport at night, in which they were absolutely abysmal. But it could be a fun game of football in a sense in which I don't think either team are really playing for much at the minute. I think it's all about next season. Like I said, I think a couple more wins for Accrington, but I think they're there. I think they'll survive, to be quite honest, and I think they will quite comfortably. And that is the end. Obviously, no Salford against Doncaster this week. That's been called off for international call-ups. So we'll probably wrap it up there, I guess. Obviously, thank you guys for watching. If you are new around here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. Make sure you go and download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from like Spotify, Apple, wherever we do it. Again, I say it all the time. I need to check, but I think they're the two main ones. Whether we've got any, if there's any more, I don't remember. They're just the main ones I know. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Let us know in the comments what you thought. Let us know in the comments what you think the result of your team will be this weekend, how you feel about your team's chances heading into this weekend's matches. I know it's a little bit later than usual this week, but we're all intrigued to hear your opinions. Of course, we do read your comments, and we really do appreciate it. We're on the road to, like I said, we're on the road to 800 subs as well. So if you can subscribe, that'll be absolutely terrific. We'll be back probably Monday, as we always are, with a new episode, having a look at these games, and if there's any drama, there could be a little bit, certainly as we head towards the back end of the season. Now, this is where it starts to get exciting, and there's still a lot to play for quite a lot of teams, unless you're called MK Dons, in which, you might as well just pack your bags and head for Mallorca now. Right, we'll leave it there. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.